If you track codes in a spreadsheet, you already know the problem. A code goes out on Monday. By Thursday, you meant to follow up. By the following Monday, you are not sure if you did. The prospect moved on. This workflow template reads your codes sheet every morning, checks how many days have passed since each code was sent, and automatically sends a follow-up email from your Gmail account to any prospect who has not responded within your follow-up window. After sending, it writes follow-up sent back into the sheet so the row is marked and not contacted again. No CRM, no new software, just Google Sheets, Gmail, and n8n. So, a few prerequisites before we start. We'll need to have your existing Google Sheet set up as a codes tracker. Your sheet needs at minimum these columns: the prospect name, your prospect email, your code number or description, date sent, the date the code was emailed, formatted as year, month, date for reliable date math, and status. Leave blank for new codes. Then the workflow writes follow-up sent here after sending. So first, let us create your spreadsheet. So let's create a sheet tab that provides all the information that we need for this workflow. If you have an existing spreadsheet, that's all good. We can use that and not change anything. We will just need to map it so that it detects these columns and maps it to the correct fields when we're sending an automation or an email follow-up. So if you have additional columns like code value, product, salesperson, you're all good. As long as you have these 5 columns, even if they're named differently on your sheet, that's all good. So as long as you have the name, you have the email, you have a code number, when it was sent, and the status. Another prerequisite that you need is your n8n instance and your Google Sheets credentials in n8n, as well as your Gmail credentials. We'll hook that up later. It is a very simple and easy 2 or 3 step flow. Let's start building. Before building any nodes manually, we'll use n8n's built-in AI to generate the workflow structure. This gives you a connected starting point in seconds, and then you configure credentials and refine the logic in the steps that follow. Since we have n8n opened here and we have already created our new workflow, we will click this n8n AI or a sparkle icon so that we will be able to send our prompt. On our blog, we have added the prompt that you can use to build this workflow. And then we'll send this one and wait for the AI to generate a set of connected nodes. It will not be fully configured. Credentials are missing. Column names are placeholders if you have different names for your columns. And the code node logic might be different or might be incorrect. We might need to replace it with something more specific, and so on. And that is expected. So it has created our set of connected nodes for us. We have the trigger, which is the schedule trigger node, and then we have the read codes tracker, the check date sent, filter matching rows here, propose each row, send follow-up email, update status column, and there is a loop here afterwards. Let's open this schedule trigger. This schedule trigger is set to run daily at 8 a.m. or whatever time your team starts the day. Let's say 1 p.m. or you're in the night shift. It depends on you on when you want to trigger this workflow. It can be also twice a day or thrice a week if you would like that. Running it in the morning, though, means follow ups land in prospect inboxes at the start of the day. So we will set it to run at 8 a.m. daily. Next up is the read codes tracker. This is the Google Sheets notes after the trigger, which is our scheduled trigger. Our operation is get rows. We actually need to get all of these rows or many rows. So get rows. And then our credential, we've already connected our Google account. If you haven't already, click on this drop down and then create new credential and then click on sign in with Google. This will open a new window and lets you log in to your Gmail account in a few steps. Once that's all good, you're able to see that it has been connected like this, account connected. And then, so we are looking at a document which is called automation. And the sheet is the codes tracker. And so before we go over to the next nodes, we're actually just going to trigger this one by putting information in our codes tracker. All right, so we've added some sample data here for our codes tracker. And we're just going to remove this one here for the status data. And then we're just going to say rejected for a few of them just so that we don't detect and these two, so John Doe and Stark, and see if it's just going to detect these three for later for those statuses that are blank. So let's execute this step. Okay, we have here, and then we're going to execute the read codes tracker. We got 5 items as expected, since we have 5 rows there with our prospects. Next is we have to check the date it was sent. Before that, we are just missing one step for this workflow. I just realized that we do not need a new node to filter out the statuses that are blank. So right now, it detects all of these 5 rows, and we need to make sure that the rows that we are providing in the next steps haven't yet been sent any follow-up, etc., or it hasn't been rejected or anything else. So we'll need to add a filter here, which is the status column. And we'll need it to be, let's try this one and execute and see if we've got 3 items. All right, so that's working. Status should be empty, and then we'll execute the next step. Let's execute here and see if this code works. And for every item here, for the 3 things that were detected with a blank status, it's going to run once for each item and see if today, based on the date today and the time today, let's see, date sent is 2026, 5/21, should follow up is false. So this code calculates how many days have passed since each code was sent. So this is the day sent, since sent, 5, and then if we should follow up or not. So we could adjust the status here and date sent to match our exact column header names from the Google Sheets output here. So let's say, for example, this is not date sent. Let's just say quote sent or quote date. So you'll need to update this one with your column name and then the status here. So if it's another name, or maybe it's a longer name status for quote or quote status, then you should change this part here. So it will be able to know which column to calculate. Since day since sent was 5, we have added a rule here that if it is 3, then we should follow up. If it's on the 7th day, then we should follow up. So 3rd day and 7th day. Our next one is filter for matching results. And then we're going to execute this step and see which ones are true. So we only have one item that we need to follow up. This is for prospect name global tech. This is true since day sent was 3, and third day is a follow-up day, and then the 7th day is a follow-up day as well. Should follow up true. And then discarded 2 items here for Jane Roe and Acme Corp since the follow-up days since sent were 5 and 4. Instead of 3 and 7, that's when we follow up. And you can always change this one. If you don't know how to change that within the code, you can ask AI to help you change how it would be on the code for different days. So we're going to look at here, process each row, and we're going to execute this step. Right now, we may not need this node since n8n nodes automatically run once for each input item, but we will retain this one. There's no difference, but just an added node that we need to execute. Okay, so we'll need to send over an email to our prospects to follow up. So we'll need a follow-up email subject and then our follow-up message. So this is all good. If this is green, it means it detected your previous nodes data with the correct property. If it's not, if it's red, you can delete that completely and then just drag and drop the prospect email from to here. And then it will show also a sample result from the previous node. And then we've got a follow-up email subject. We're just going to say a quote number or a description. We're going to use the quote number and the description. Say quote number, this one, drag and drop. And then we're going to say following up on your quotes, and then with their quote number or description. And we are going to add a follow-up email or message body. And on our blog, we've got this message that you can copy and paste. But if you already have your own format, then it would be better if you use that format in here. So we've got this one here. Let's see. We're just going to say HTML, expression and not fixed. So change that to fixed to expression so that it detects these JSON properties here in data fields. Hi, prospect name. I wanted to follow up on the code we sent over for quote number, description. If you have any questions or would like to discuss details, blah, blah, just reply to this email or reach us at your phone number. So we could maximize this one by clicking the bottom right icon here. And then if you have any other columns that you would like to use in your follow-up email, you can just drag and drop from this interface. For example, quote value, you want to add that in, quote value, and you can also see the result here, a preview, but with text, HTML, and Markdown views. And then you update your name here. If you have a column that adds in the salesperson's name, then you could add this one, the salesperson name here. Let's see. Yeah, we've got salesperson. So let's see. Oh, here, salesperson. And then I'm just going to drag and drop the salesperson here. And then the company name, you can change that to Infotech Inc. Or if you have already a signature that you would like to use, then go for it as well so that you can have a more aligned branding for your emails. Okay, so that should be good. And then we're going to execute this step here. And this has been sent to our prospect following that up. And then once that's all good, we've got the update status column Google Sheet node. This is the after Gmail send node, and this is the updating of that row for those that we have sent a follow-up on. Okay. If you haven't yet, add your credential here, sign in with your Google account, and then go back to n8n to confirm that you have connected your account. So our resource is a sheet within a document, and our operation is update row. Document is by ID. So we are not going to remove this one, sorry. And then it should be from a list. Not sure why is this one's different, but we are going to copy and paste this link, see if that works, and then choose from the list of sheets and quotes tracker. Then we're going to map each column manually and which column to match on. So we're going to use the quote number or description because we might have different quotes for the same customer, so that we're not going to use those. We're going to use the quote number or description instead. And then values to update. Here we have quote number or description. Let's see from our previous node, process each row. We have the quote number or description here. Drag and drop that. The rest we are going to delete except for the status. And then we are going to add in here follow-up sent. So we are going to update the status from blank to follow-up sent. So for this one, blank status to follow-up sent. Let's execute the step and see if that works out. So for QT 1004, it has been updated to follow-up sent. So now, once you're all good, toggle the workflow to be active, publish it, test by temporarily adding a row with a date sent, value 3 days ago or 7 days ago, and a blank status. Then triggering the workflow manually, confirm the follow-up email arrives in the test prospects inbox, and the status column in the sheet updates to follow-up sent. So what to watch out for are date format inconsistencies, replied quotes that do not get their status updated, and multiple follow-ups on the same day. And you can also extend this workflow, like adding a closed status to permanently remove rows from follow-up, or personalize the follow-up with a quote value like we did earlier, and escalate unresponded quotes after day 14. Quote follow-up is one of the highest ROI automation targets for small manufacturers because the cost of not following up is a real measurable number. Deals that went to a competitor because your team forgot. The build also teaches us a pattern that applies directly to other processes your team manages in Google Sheets, like supplier contract renewals, overdue invoices, and more. Let us know what you would like to learn to build in n8n, and we will look into that and see if we can give a tutorial for that for you. If you have any questions, drop that in the comments below. See you in our next video.